760. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from California.
And what's your name?
My name is Gilbert Vitilla.
Gilbert Vitilla. Well, you don't have to give me your last name. Sorry. Gilbert from California. What's on your mind?
Oh, so I'm sorry. I'm a little confused because it seems like the streaming is not the same beat as the. I'm just curious. Is this Sam?
Yes, this is the Majority Report. You've called into the show, and we're talking on air now.
So I'm a independent conservative. I live in Hollywood, and I have a question. How would you? I see you guys' optimism and everything, but how would you guys consider this? And as I'll just full disclosure, I did not vote for Trump. But how do you see this not as a conservative like checkmate? You know, because the courts are stacked.
Yeah.
And it seems like everything's going to end up in the court no matter where we argue it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I know the optimism's there about like turning it around and stuff like that, but you know, I'm not like a big devout Sam Seder fan or anything. I just watch you guys because I keep up on both sides, and I'm just kind of curious. Your opinion is like, how do you see this being turned around?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not sure how I see it being turned around. I mean, I think, look, if I had to bet, if you and I were to bet right now, and I'm not really a betting person, but I would feel pretty confident betting that the Democrats are going to retake the House in 2 years. My experience in following this stuff is that, like, when lunatics get in like this, they overreach. And frankly, in my mind, I am okay with them having both houses of the House and the Senate, because that's going to mean that they have to legislate. And that's where it's most sort of obvious what they're doing. The court stuff scares the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie. The court stuff, I think.
It does me too. I mean, I like, they're talking about getting rid of the lady girl, I forgot her name, and saying, let's get somebody else in there. I go, but didn't they do that with Obama, and then they let nobody get in? You know what I mean? So it was like they kept pushing out.
Well, they wanted Sotomayor, yes, but the difference is that the Democrats control the Senate right now, and when Garland was the nominee, the Republicans controlled the Senate, and so they could theoretically get someone in to replace Sotomayor. It doesn't seem like they're going to do that. The Democrats generally are very timid in these things. If there were Republicans, they would. I bet. I mean, they practically did with Amy Coney Barrett. But putting that aside, the court stuff really scares me. I have no answer for that for the next 40 years, to be totally honest. And honestly,
exact same thing.
But
same thing.
I will say, it's conceivable to me that we could be in a political moment 10 years from now, 8 years from now, 12 years from now, where reform of the Supreme Court could very well be possible. But putting that aside, the reason why I'm somewhat optimistic is because you can just look into history and things change. And things change in ways you can't expect. I think there is, we had a movement that, I'm telling you, in 2016, to predict that Bernie Sanders would come close to knocking off Hillary Clinton in the primary. I can tell you who was completely incapable of expecting that, and his name was Bernie Sanders. And he was incapable of believing that even, I think, well into the campaign. He didn't start, getting serious until like January of 2016. And by then, I think it was a little too late. So the really important thing is to have this optimism and prepare, because you just don't know where the opportunity is going to come from. And you're going to be better suited to deal with that opportunity if you have that attitude that we don't know what's going to happen. There is going to be an opportunity. We don't know where, we don't know when, but we want to be ready for it.
Right. Yeah, I see a lot of my friends with the conservative guys. They're always like, I would have voted for Bernie, man, but it seems like we got to go with Trump because everybody's playing this. Everybody's some like neoconservatism, or somebody's like Republican who's being watched by Israel, stuff like that. And they're like, they're all bought. And I'm like, yeah.
I think the bottom line is, and you know what? Let's put up this this graphic from AOC. And I appreciate the phone call. This is because you're raising a good point here. AOC put up a graphic, and she went on Instagram and basically took a survey from her followers and said, for those of you who voted for me and for Trump, because there was plenty of those people.
There were a lot in her district, because a lot of other Democrats lost ground, but she didn't, and her district, Trump gained in her district. So this is a good, it's a question of okay, how is that possible, and how were some of her voters convinced that even though they have entirely different views on social spending, on governance, obviously, that they were able to vote for Trump and AOC. So she asked, and these are some of the answers.
And remember, look, the idea behind this is not to assess whether the person responding to her is right or wrong. It is to get an idea of what they were essentially sold and bought.
This one sticks out to me. I feel like Trump and you are both real. Trump and another one, Trump and you care for the working class. Okay, that's definitely not true.
It's real simple. Trump and you care for the working class. The next one, but wanted change, so I went with Trump and blew for the rest of the ballot to put some brakes. I mean, he's a change agent. He's for the working class. Now, is he a change agent? Well, arguably. Is he for the working class? Absolutely not.
No.
Voted Trump, but I like you and Bernie. I don't trust either party establishment politicians. So now think about this for a moment. All of the work that they did to say this is a unique guy, that there are actually good Republicans, the heart of the Republican Party is good, actually benefited Trump.
Exactly.
Because it sent the message that he's not like these other politicians.
I mean, that's
progress
yeah.
is better than stagnation and excuses. In other words, a plan is better than no plan. He had a plan. Even if it wasn't good, it's going to stir things up. Harris's plan was don't vote for Trump.
Let's protect things.
Both of you push boundaries and force growth. This is a person whose attitude is, I just want to put somebody in there who's going to stir shit. Because out of shit stirring, something good happens, which may be right, may be wrong, but if you believe there needs to be some energy, Harris never even had a plan that would shake stuff up. They were trying to actually project, no, not a radical, not going to be change. Assuage, who was she trying to assuage? The worries that might exist in the suburban Republican voter. I would have voted for you and Trump, but I'm in California. I like your style, though. Okay. Trump's going to get us the money and let's men have a voice. You're brilliant and have amazing passion. I don't know how to reconcile that one. That's harder. I feel like Trump and you are both real. Like Emma said, voted for Trump in Arizona, but voted for Dem Rubin instead of Kari Lake because
he's good at handling war.
Yeah. I feel that both of you are outsiders compared to the rest of D.C. and less establishment. I mean, yes, that's the way the Democrats portrayed Trump.
That's true.
Both times he won.
Right, exactly. And you would, and the fact that they did it the same time around, like, it exceptionalized him. Do we have that other slide? There's more.
I know people that did this, and it was because of Gaza.
A lot of that.
Voted for Trump and you, not genocide Harris. That's the same thing.
Yep.
But also, you signified change. Trump signified change. I've said lately, Trump sounds more like you. Well, I mean, he definitely tried to tack. He at the end of the campaign, he was like coming out for our Muslim friends. Arab Americans.
I mean, relative to Harris and Biden, yeah, he does.
Yep.
That second to last one's interesting to me too. Dems do a better job at the local level, but are terrible at the macro level. Trump's promising to break things as an executive. AOC is known for, and a lot of these squad members who haven't been able to be ousted by AIPAC have been known to have really strong constituent services. So other Democrats need to learn from AOC.
Oh, you got to do the work in the district too.
But she does. She's phenomenal at that.
She was more for rights than the economy. When she talked about it, she didn't have a plan. And the irony is that she had much more detailed policy statements, but she had no broad narrative for what the agenda was. That could have been, anti-corporate, which they started out with a little bit, and then they backed off it because of, maybe it was Tony West, maybe it was her advisors, who knows. They could have been the care economy, but they didn't want to, they were afraid maybe they didn't have time to develop it. Or
they chose opportunity economy over care economy.
Right. But even that didn't even stick. But yes, opportunity
But who does
economy.
that appeal to?
Oh, 100%.
A single worker
I will
in the world?
No. I'll tell you who it is. It is almost identical to George W. Bush's owner economy. You are focused on the real issues people care about, similar to Trump populism in some ways. I felt you did this. It felt like I didn't have a choice after Biden's administration. He speaks of war as something that's bad. Democrats became the party that supports war.
That lends credence to what we were saying yesterday a little bit about how Biden's the second half of his term basically abandoning the domestic policies at home, in part because Manchin and Sinema killed Build Back Better, and then bloating the military budget for Ukraine and for Israel. You can easily articulate that critique and say, oh, well, they're spending all of our money on these wars and not at home.
People did that episode of Matt Duss's Undiplomatic, I think, podcast that I keep mentioning. A lot of these communities that did actually bleed a lot of turnout. That exactly is what they were saying.
Loved ones say you're both straightforward in challenging corruption and broken government. And, had they stopped providing military aid to Israel and continued to do it for Ukraine, then it busts that narrative. I'm just saying, there was so many different opportunities, and had she just simply broken with Biden in any way, I don't know what would have been sufficient. At what point it would have been a critical mass that it would have been sufficient, but I am also 100% sure Biden and certainly Harris could have gone much further than they did. I mean, they didn't go anywhere, but I'm saying they had a lot more latitude with Jewish voters than they seem to think. They did. This was, I think, one of the worst performances for a Democrat in terms of Jewish voters since I can remember. I mean, traditionally it's around 75%. And I think this time it was close to 65%. Now, you need to see actual really better data, Pew, but on its face, it looks like that. But I'm quite convinced that 35% was going to vote for Trump in this situation in any case. In fact, I'm also convinced that, and Harris didn't have the opportunity to do this sooner, but had Biden in this time in 2022 or 2023, whenever, I guess it was 2023, had Biden in November or early December said, you need to stop, that the Jewish community would have been okay with that. Even the 10% that she bled would have been okay with that. But as this thing went on, it became the pressure on Biden to get him to stop this genocide made, I think, a lot of Jews in that cohort of people who are ultra supportive of Israel get a little bit more hardened and defensive. There's always going to be that 25%. But I think that other 10%, had Biden put brakes on this earlier, would have been okay with it, actually, even though now they wouldn't, because they've been sold this notion of my friend's daughter can't go to Columbia University
Yeah.
because of all the anti-Semitism.
Gillibrand was just repeating that yesterday.
And on that note, breaking news. So today was the deadline for Israel to basically make it clear that they were following humanitarian aid. Blinken has now said there will be no change for now to military assistance to Israel following the deadline the U.S. gave Israel regarding the humanitarian situation in Gaza, and that expires today. Two U.S. officials said. This is Barak Ravid reporting this.
I'll stop holding my breath.
So nothing matters. Nothing. I mean, in terms of like the clear and obvious way in which Israel was blocking humanitarian aid, they're coming to the same conclusion, and they were just buying time until after the election.
Of course. I mean, I think we knew that at the time, and we said as much.
Right.
Ron Campius, he's the Jewish Telegram. I don't know what the A stands for. Bureau chief. That apparently Barak Ravid was speaking to the Jewish Federation. It says, I don't want to depress you. This is Campius. But because of Israeli government, we are much closer to Israeli settlements being built in Gaza than hostages coming home from Gaza. Shocked murmurs, lots of, oh my God, from a crowd usually solid pro-Israel. I mean, I can't tell you I managed to avoid most of these arguments with, during my mom's funeral and Shiva. I mean, fortunately, the rabbi was much more sympathetic with our perspective, like me and my sisters.
That's good.
Yes, that
Made things easier.
Made things a lot easier. But this is, I mean, people are, some people are just completely immersed in enough propaganda and are made to be in fear that they just can't see what's going on. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.